All right.
All right, welcome to back to the Gnostic Deluge.
Episode 2
Yeah,
of the Shepherd of Men.
hopefully,
Poemandres, right?
yeah,
Poemandres, the Shepherd of Men.
hopefully you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it on iTunes now.
Yeah. Or your
Or
favorite
whatever.
podcast aggregator.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't hold us to that, though, yet.
We're working on it, so we've got one episode out, the first episode. So anyway, we wanted to continue down where we were going last time. We got to verse 9, but we wanted to do a quick summary
Yep.
of what we covered, just so.
So, yeah, the last episode we went through 9 verses, and it took a long time to get through them all because we kind of read a lot of them. So, just a real quick recap is this text starts off with. I guess we can assume that this is Hermes,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
he was dwelling on the things of God, and he basically got taken up into this vision. His mind was caught up, and he is introduced to this guide who identifies himself as the man shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
And the guide asks him, "What do you want to know?" And Hermes says, "Hey, I want to know the things of God." And so,
Well, he says 3 things.
what are the 3 things?
Along to know things that are, comprehend their nature, and know God. Those are the 3
Okay.
specific things.
Interesting.
I'm just saying.
No,
those are.
we should take note on those 3 things because
Yeah, I know.
there's the reference. There's kind of like these play on numbers, and later on in this text where there's like like the 7 degrees of this or the 3 anyways. Yeah, so there's 3 things.
Mm-hmm.
And right away, he gets the guide, the man shepherd, identifies himself also as the mind. And
it's almost like his mind.
yeah, well, he actually says, I know what thou desirest, and I'm with thee everywhere. So basically, in his mind, and he's also, when he's asked to like contemplate things, he says, think of them,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll show you. So he's going through this vision / mind vision. I guess
It's just a vision.
Whether it's a vision,
you can call it a vision because that's what
You're right. I guess that's what a vision might be. Anyways,
Yeah.
Okay. And in a twinkling of an eye, actually,
Yeah.
he gets
Caught up.
he gets caught up, and he starts to witness this. This like darkness and light.
Well, there's this light.
Well,
there's
light
this
starts
darkness that kind of wraps around it,
Yeah.
and then the word speaks. It's kind of like this creation thing where nature and
It's almost like a creation, a pre-creation creation.
yeah.
Like the beginning of all things,
Yeah.
even before like the universe almost.
I mean, if you remember Genesis and stuff,
yeah.
there's the light and the darkness right at the start,
Exactly.
and then things start to get formed because then all of a sudden, through the word
Yeah.
of God's word in this, the thing like earth and water and stuff and electricity start to kind of combine.
Yeah, it mentions the elements. and
Yeah,
stuff, yeah.
so it's just it's this creation thing, and then where do we get to? We don't want to spend too much, but the cosmos. Oh yeah, because I remember I just listened to the one, and whenever you said about cosmos
Okay.
or is cosmology or whatever, cosmos is a system.
It's a system.
So the like if you the way whatever you said that made sense is like, oh, the solar system kind
Yeah.
of, or the mechanics of the universe started to be put into place
Yeah,
through
totally. Yeah.
and we'll see that a little later too, but and then we got to 9. There was the 7 rulers,
Yeah.
which was the planets. Anyway,
So that's basically
that's where we got.
That's where we got to, and then what we have here is the God mind formed 7 rulers, and they mentioned how they enclosed the cosmos, and there's also mentioned how these 7 rulers are tied in with fate.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't explain the 7 rulers, though, does it? Like what they are.
No.
This particular text doesn't mention what the 7 rulers are.
You know what? I think that
A different text does.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. As I was reading over further into this, I was like, well, we can't talk about everything because, eventually they're explained in other things too.
Yeah.
To where we're just I think we're just gonna try to get what we can just off the kind of gleaning off of it instead of going into total depth.
So at this point we'll say there's 7 like celestial rulers.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And they're formed of God was able to form them because he was a fire and spirit. So, okay.
Okay.
All right, let's go to verse 10. 10 was where I think things start to get a little confusing for me.
10 is just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, that's why I'm saying, do you want to go through it, or do you want to just kind of skip and hit on the things that we understand or have seen it?
I think.
But go ahead.
One
if
way
you have
we can
a note
start.
on it.
I think one thing we need to mention real quick before we explain 10 is, I don't think we mentioned it earlier. In this creation story, there was a concept of nature.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We skipped that part. But yeah, there was this concept of God and light, and then life. And so light kind of, if I'm interpreting this correctly, light is more of the eternal God, and nature is more of the natural, physical.
Yeah. Well, was that in the last one where we talked about, because nature started copying kind of God?
Yeah.
Nature started forming her own thing, like in copy of the things that God was thinking.
It copied the cosmos.
Yeah.
So God made this cosmos.
So that's
And nature, a copy of it was made in a natural form.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that kind of goes into, I don't know where, there's this concept that I've heard many times of this, like spiritual creation and a physical creation being separate.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the sources for that.
Yeah.
So here's the confusing 10. This is how I'm going to interpret it for us.
Okay. Good. Do it.
There's this concept of downward elements, and my interpretation of that is the lesser. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So straight away from the lesser elements and God's reason. So reason is the key word here, and reason is our ability to reason and think things through and to like contemplate things, right? So God's reason leaped up to nature's pure formation and was atoned or become one with the formative mind. And nature's downward, or the lesser elements of nature, were left reasonless, being pure, so as to pure matter. So there's this differentiation in this creation. There's this differentiation of some things are reasonless, some entities, and I'm saying like natural, like the earth, like stone,
yeah,
maybe even plants, depending on, I don't know, but maybe even plants, and so there's some creation that's reasonless. It's just dumb. It doesn't have an intellect. Right?
Yeah.
And then there's some, and they're referred to as the downward elements.
Oh, okay. So
like the lesser elements.
Uh-huh.
And then in verse 11 it says, then the formative mind who surrounds the spheres and spins. The spheres is where we start to think that the 7 rulers are planets.
The planets, yeah, the spheres.
And spins them with his whirl. Okay, he basically sets the planets in.
Wait, what verse is?
This is verse 11. So
yeah,
he
I
sets
wrote,
the planets
cosmos
in motion.
Machinery begins spinning.
Oh, sweet! That's a great way to put it. Yeah, he basically starts the clock. He starts the cosmic clock. The planets have rotations, and they're eternal. Like they're going to continue to rotate. They're not going to stop.
Yeah.
Right? It's an eternal thing. And so what we have here is
an 11.
Well, that's an 11, but I guess one of the things I skipped, and this way I will look, if you see my little reason, nature, and mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's the second half of 11 is where the downward elements nature brought forth reasonless, for he did not extend the reason to them. Right? They don't.
Yeah.
A lot of elements don't have the ability to contemplate the things of God.
Well, see, this is where it talks about animals.
Yeah.
That are brought forth.
So the air brought forth things that are winged, and the water brought forth fish, and earth and water. These basically animals come into the scene.
And
just
then
like
earth and water are parted.
Just like the Genesis story, almost. Like
That's what I'm saying.
So there's a creation of animals.
And this is in the same order too. That is interesting. That
is it?
Genesis. Well, I'm saying. Well.
Oh, the order of the general order.
The general order. Yeah. You got the.
Yeah, like okay, you're right. The animals come next, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so I guess what we're looking at now is 12. So these are your reasonless forms.
Yeah, so the things that just part of the
natural order,
environment,
yeah.
economy, whatever of the earth before man.
Yep.
I guess.
And so in verse 12 is when the All-Father mind, being light and life, did bring forth man, co-equal to himself.
Yeah, that was interesting. I was like, co-equal with God.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what it says. And it says, on him did bestow all of his own formations.
Yeah. So he created, and I think this is where the whole man is created in the image of God.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing, it says that he's co-equal with himself, with whom he fell in love. And this is where I'm kind of like, what's going on? He just loves the creation as being his own child, for he was beautiful beyond compare, the image of his sire. In very truth, God fell in love with his own form. So for whatever reason, they're like, God just was so happy that, he's like, oh my gosh.
It was perfect. He this is the best. I love this.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because in Genesis and in the creation story, and in this creation story, you have all this stuff going on with nature and stuff being created, but the crowning event, or what it's created for, is some for man, I guess.
Yeah. You're
right.
You're right.
Not. I don't know.
No, it's the crowning event is man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's the whole created in God's image type of thing. And
but that doesn't necessarily mean that.
No, it doesn't.
That you're just because that happened that we're we can be uppity in any way because we're mixed. It goes on. Well, what do you got?
That's what I have. So if you want me to go on to 13.
Well, because man is mingled with nature, and that's where and these rolling planets and stuff that they're where we get caught. I don't know. We're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Probably.
No, we will.
Okay,
I'm
go
not sure
with
where
13.
That's at. So 13
well,
was
whenever we'll get to it.
13 was kind of confusing.
To me a little bit. Oh well, okay. Yeah, I was kind of confused. He gazed upon the informer because I was weak. Who's the informer? But to inform is to form or to fashion.
Yeah.
So he gazed on the creator.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think it's the wrong type of. Today we don't use that word that way.
Informer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he wished to inform. Anyway, I don't know if this one's totally clear.
And so what's important, I think, in this verse is if you replace informer with the one that formed everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
He basically, man also wished to create things.
Mm-hmm.
And so he gave man the ability to create things.
And I don't know exactly what that is talking about. Is that the creative mind? Or is that creative as in reproductive? But I don't... Well, but actually, though, if you go into other texts, it talks so much more about this.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of this creative thing, this in being able to form and fashion
with
the mind.
Oh
You
yeah,
know what I'm
totally.
saying?
Oh, this might be good point. So
That's
this
what I'm
might
saying.
be one of the
So basically, God,
first.
all we need to know is that God gave man power to be able to form or fashion things, create,
And it's actually
use his imagination or his mind.
it's actually the same power that God has.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's outside of like an animal, to where they only have a few things. I mean, they can maybe use a stick or something, but a man can sit there and think through and just be like, okay, well, if I do this, and kind of reason, use his intellect to create, or to even think in his mind before he actually does something. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I do. I completely know what you're saying. I'm having a hard time putting it into words. The way that I'm trying to.
I can't form. I'm not much of an
able
informer.
to form my thoughts.
I'm
right
not much
now.
of an informer,
I can't formulate my thoughts right now. But the way I've been trying to piece it together in my mind is that in the very beginning of this text, there's like this creation that happens before nature comes into the scene, right? And it's when nature comes into the scene that actually things start to like become like real. But before that, it was just like conceptual.
Yeah.
And so
there wasn't anything solid.
Yeah, so
I guess you would say.
I think, I don't know if I'm interpreting this correctly, but we have the ability to create entire. I don't think it's very easy, but we have the ability to create cosmoses of our own in our mind, and with our thoughts, and we have the ability to take our thoughts and to actually form it something.
Work on them.
Yeah.
And actually make it into a physical, and it might not. I mean, that seems like a ridiculous idea, like a cosmos or whatever. But you can take a thought from the mind, or put it on paper, and then from paper actually start building it and making something. And it might not be as big as what that, but it's the beginnings of something like that. Anyway,
and that's my interpretation of when there's the reference of God's mind.
Yeah, because
the mind of God. My interpretation of that is that God had basically this cosmos itself. The whole concept that God's everywhere. He's all knowing. He isn't, because we're actually. This is going to be a stretch, but my interpretation is like we're actually in God's mind, right? Like we are a thought to him, and so like this whole, you're like, oh Brandon, you're going way off here. But that's
no,
how I
it's
think.
fine.
The whole God mind, the reason why the word mind is used so often is because.
So it's a simulation, man.
I think that's a modern way to interpret it, the Matrix type of thing. Like we're kind of, and if you think of worlds without number, like how many different. If I'm a part of God's creation and in his mind, and then I'm able to do that as well, and then
this gets like,
what I'm saying? Like it's like numberless.
Dude.
It's eternal.
Yeah.
So,
okay, well, let's not spend too much. I understand what you're saying, but I don't want to get off on just talking about.
I think we just lost half our viewers.
We only have one viewer. What they do get chopped in half. They actually literally got chopped in half. But no, I think it's just important. What we want to point out here is that God gave man the ability to do what he does, to form or inform or to fashion, and that's one of the things that might set us apart from nature's creations, or make them even, like, in the Genesis, make those things subject to us. They can be subject, or we can be subject to them.
Correct.
That's the key that I think comes up later, is that either you can just go with nature and live that life, or you can use nature or overcome nature and live a more enlightened life.
And that comes up later.
Yeah, we need a soda though.
Oh, why did we not have a soda? Which one do you want?
Give me the The one that you brought.
Okay, so as a bonus, we have a bonus for this episode. There's gonna be a few authentic reactions. Having been, I think we had when you first had the fever tree, that was a reaction, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was a reaction, and then a delayed reaction whenever I got the burn. That was so good.
All right.
But yeah, today this is what is it? Flenchers or
Fentimans.
Fentimans. Okay, this is Fentimans, dandelion, and burdock. So traditional dandelion and burdock beverage with herbal extracts.
Yeah.
So there's like stuff floating at the. It's like seems. I don't know if you're supposed to do that.
You don't think you are?
Oh well, I did it. So.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Oh, I can smell the. So dandelion and burdock. That's interesting.
It's a different flavor, huh?
Oh, there's like a little there's so many flavors going on because there's like a pear, there's like this almost molasses taste, and then there's
a lot of flavor there.
And then there's like a licorice in there.
Mm-hmm.
That is interesting. This has to be good for you.
You kind of. When I drink this, and this is my second time now drinking one of these.
That is very interesting. You have to.
It reminds me of like
at first you're like, I don't know,
like a cough, like a medicine.
Yeah, yeah.
So a
syrup.
Fermented ginger root.
Oh, okay.
Beet sugar, pear juice. Yeah, herbal infusions.
Okay, caramel. Oh.
The herbal infusions are dandelion root and burdock.
Okay. Anyway, that's an interesting one. I'm gonna say it's interesting.
Yeah, is that your reaction?
I'll finish it, and I'll probably, yeah.
Yeah. That's my interpretation of it too.
Yeah, you're just kind of like, what?
It's not that I'm like,
what is this?
I'm not thinking like, oh, this is so good, right? It's more of like, this is interesting.
This is so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has like that. Anyway, okay, so let's go on.
So the last thing that in that verse, basically, we have the man has the ability to form things in its mind,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Then it has the ability, and then it also has the ability to explore the whole and he had the mind to break through the boundary of their spheres and subdue the mind of that which was pressed upon the fire.
Well, that's what I was saying with that he could break through.
Okay.
So he, and actually in the next verse in 14,
the harmony discussion.
It talks about man, and nature mingling.
So let's go to.
So this is where maybe the breakthrough.
So let's go to 14.
Okay.
The only note I have on 14, and 14 is a long verse. I have two notes actually. The first note I have is harmony ? And the reason why is because I think that harmony. I didn't understand what harmony meant until a few verses later. But there's mention of harmony.
Well, I think the harmony was that thing at the beginning, the nature. But okay, so what is? I thought they had called it harmony. Maybe it was moist nature. Never mind.
It was moist nature. So basically, there's this imagery of bending his face downward through the harmony.
Yeah, breaking right through its strength and showed to downward nature, God's fair form. So harmony's nature, right? Or not?
So here's the thing: is there's two times in this. There's two different references to a downward nature. The first one that we had a few verses ago was nature's downward elements.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is the first time we're seeing nature, God's natural downward. So it's almost like you breaking through the boundary, or like pushing yourself through the harmony.
Well,
and you're seeing the more natural. You're seeing like the more primitive ways of God, like the basic.
Well, I thought it was saying that God. What happens is, look, it says, and showed to downward nature. That's one thing. God's fair form.
God's fair form.
So, okay. And then, because then it makes sense in the next
Do you have a comma on yours?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's fine. I think that makes more sense to me though. The way
Yeah, because all of a sudden it's saying that he's bending his face down through harmony, break right through its strength, show to downward nature God's anyway. And this is where whenever nature sees God, she falls in love with him.
Oh yeah, that's your interpretation is
And
better. Like
when she saw that form of beauty which can never satiate, and him who possessed within himself each single energy of all seven rulers, she smiled with love, for 'twas as though she'd seen an image of man's fairest form upon her. Anyway, so she kind of falls in love with man, or the image
God
of
falls
God.
in love with man, and then Mother Earth falls in love with man.
Mm-hmm.
So, just side note, am I correct that the image, the art that you put on on episode 1 was the art that had the Hermes pushing through the harmony?
Yeah, the guy he's like reaching through, so you can see the sphere around the world, or what is that called? Anyway, you can see the sphere around the world, and then he's like kind of going through and looking through, so you can see the stars from there. But then all of a sudden he's peering through and he's seeing all the mechanics.
Yeah, totally.
Like the mechanical planets.
Check out the thumbnail that Mark put on the video, at least episode 1 video.
Yeah,
I might do it for this one too. But check out that art because it's really cool. I don't know where you got it from.
I just found it on the internet.
It's really cool.
And
it's
explains.
A cool idea. It's a good visualization, I think, of what this is talking about.
You know what this one reminds me of, because all of a sudden the man is being reflected in Earth's water.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden it seems like man is seeing his own image too, and he's kind of falling in love with it.
Himself?
Like kind of Narcissus or whatever from Greek.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like it's just interesting.
These things all come from like the same source, and
so
a lot of the same concepts are manifest in different texts that we see through other places, right? Mm-hmm. I agree with that interpretation. And
then it says, so there's this thing going on with nature going, this guy's awesome, or whatever, and nature took the object of her love and wound herself completely round him, and they were intermingled, for they were lovers.
So that's kind of a poetic way, in my interpretation. That's a poetic way to say, and this
man became flesh.
Yeah. I've seen also this reference to clay in the past, and man's made from clay, or the earth, and so man became flesh. That's the end of 14.
So actually, and that's the thing about these writings, that they say they're written in this really poetic language that sometimes doesn't make sense,
especially after being translated to English.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but part of the reason that they would write it in these kind of weird ways is to make it to where you're not just revealing everything to everybody. Totally. It was like I think we talked about Jesus in parables.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, you're telling a nice story or an interesting sounding story. Oh, but there's a deeper layer if you're the initiated or whatever, and I'm not the initiated, but
no, there's a lot of poetry poetry, and this style of writing was like the first style, from what I know, the first style of like telling these stories and explaining things. Yeah, and I'll actually have something on the smorgasbord for that. Okay, if you're interested in a poem that I've recently written.
You wrote a poem?
I've written 3 poems in the last few weeks. I'm a poet now, by the way. So if you're interested in this, if you're interested in my poetry, then stay tuned for the smorgasbord that we're gonna.
But I'm saying if you're I think that sometimes though a poem and flowery words or whatever actually can paint like a deeper picture than you could if you're just trying to explain it, or it can or it can actually hit you in a different way at different times where your mind is.
And I think that's one of the. This is off. I'll save it for later.
I'm just saying, like, it's just interesting that now that we're reading it and talking about it, I'm like, oh wait, this is different than like, okay, this makes more sense.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's kind of striking me a little different.
How better could you write "Man became flesh" than to say, "And nature took the object of her love, wound herself completely round him, and they were intermingled, for they were lovers."
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I mean, it really paints a super, like a full picture.
Yeah.
Like you're in, like it's just like, yeah, I like it. Okay, so this is like you said, where man becomes flesh.
Yep.
I mean, he takes all this stuff, and then
and this is all, and I was saying this is why man is out of all the other creatures.
15.
Out of all the other creatures, man has a twofold.
Yeah.
Man is twofold. Earthman is twofold. Mortal because of the body. So mortal because it has a natural side. It's part of nature. But because of the essential man, kind of like I don't think that's the right way to explain it. But because of the essential man, immortal.
Like.
Yeah, to me it would be
like
to me it would make more sense if it was saying because of light.
Yeah.
Immortal, or because of the mind.
Yeah, so you've got the.
I'd say that could. I'm not being a judge. I'm going to judge this right now. Mead. I really like Mead's translation. I'm kind of wondering if he could have written the essential man in a different way. Right, unless he really understood what he was writing. There.
Well, I mean, but the essential man is. Well, he's obviously means something by it. We'll have to look into that. But I'm saying the essential man, like you got the mortal man, the flesh, which isn't, and then the essential man, or the central man, or the. No, anyway, let's not work through it.
You're stretching it there.
Yeah, I'm like, or the central. Essential, they sound the same.
Don't be an apologist for Mead's translation.
Okay, Brandon, you know what? I'm going to put this down. Can you get me another?
Which one do you want?
Hit me with a ginger.
Take note if you want to interpret the Mark's reaction to that. I think it was interesting.
It's very interesting, but I can't finish. I'm
not
going to be able to finish it right now. It's something that.
Well, it's like drinking like cough syrup almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which one?
Just give me the canned one because I've never had that.
The yellow.
Oh, give me the ginger one. I don't know, not the vanilla.
Ginger.
Yeah. Okay.
This is also reaction,
this
right?
This is dry, sparkling. Anyway, ginger. So bold, spicy, and full are its key words.
This is going to be an interest. This is going to be a.
Hopefully, it's all those things. Let's see.
Here we go. Oh, it's not going so well yet. Uh-oh.
Try it.
All right.
Okay, so this one is not a diet one. I think it's just very light on the sugar side. That's why it only has 65 calories.
I would say it's a little light on the bold.
On the flavor side, too. Like, bold, spicy, full. I think they're full of something.
Oh, you can make a rhyme. Say, what's the words again for that?
Bold, spicy, full.
Bold, spicy, full. Bold, spicy, full. Yeah, right. Pull me out a cock and bull.
Oh, pull me out of cock and bull. Okay. Anyway, we're kind of going off. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that one's just not hitting it me either. All right, here we go with the cock and bull ginger beer, which is one of the champions. I mean, Fire Tree and Cock and Bull's top.
Fever Tree.
Oh yeah, that's more like it. Try it, or you don't have to.
No, I still have my Mineragua and my.
Okay. Anyway, so
back to
the thing.
Wait, can we just real quick? Can we just say that the dry reaction wasn't so good either?
It was a dry reaction.
It was a dry reaction.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's just like whoa. Anyway, okay, so you have man, he becoming flesh, and in verse 15, my note says the extremes of mortal, immortal. Okay, so what I mean is it kind of goes. The shepherd of men says that this is the mystery kept hid until this day. nature embraced by man brought forth a wonder. Oh, so wonderful. Like just this wonder. For as he had the nature of the concord of the seven planets we were talking about, who, as I said to thee, were made of fire and spirit. Gosh dang it, where am I getting to? Nature delayed not, but immediately brought forth 7 men in correspondence with the natures of the 7. Gosh, what am I getting at? This is not making sense.
I think that you did you skip part of 15?
Oh geez, there's all kinds of stuff in there.
Did you skip the 15
yes,
part?
Yes. Dang it, I skipped the part.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this is the extremes of nature, or like the kind of revert or the antithesis and
I'm not sure.
The opposites.
Okay.
Like how you're mortal and immortal at the same time, like man.
Yeah.
Okay. It says the essential man, immortal, like you were saying. Though deathless and possessed of sway over all, yet doth he suffer as mortal death, subject to fate. So though deathless, he's subject to fate.
Yes.
So he's not deathless.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then though above the harmony we were talking about,
yep,
he's within the harmony and hath become a slave.
Because while in the harmony, my interpretation is you're not aware of what's real outside of the harmony.
Yeah, he's actually above the harmony, but he's in it, so he doesn't know. But he's above it while being in it and a slave to it. Anyway,
so I don't know if this word transfers to lots of different Christian sects or not. Sect or not. I hate that word, man. Mm-hmm. Sect. Anyways, yeah, it sounds like you're talking naughty.
SECTS.
Yeah. And the word I'm thinking of is the veil. Right? Like there's this this veil that's been there's this concept of a veil being placed on us.
Uh-huh.
And
where you but actually forgetfulness.
Yeah, and so we're kind of slave. We're kind of enslaved because we actually don't realize who we are. We don't know.
There's a whole thing in here that I was reading today about this forgetfulness and stuff.
In the notes? In his notes?
In notes, yeah, and stuff. And it's so interesting. But yeah, I mean, so I'm just saying these are the kind of not contradictions, but that you're above the harmony, but you're in the harmony and a slave to it. So it's part of this mortal immortal nature.
Yep.
That you could be out of it, or whatever.
Well,
and
later on there'll be reference to how to get through the harmony.
Yeah, and then saying though he's sleepless, yet he is overcome. So.
Overcome.
You're awake, but you're not. But you're asleep.
Once again, just like
it's like this dual, like these contradictory terms. Like how can you be both? And then see, this is poetic.
And this is also hermetic too. The poles,
Oh yeah.
What's it called? Dualism.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. So this is where we get the beginning of this. So it's a kind of remember. Okay, what were his things? What were his questions? I want to know the things that are, comprehend their nature, and to know God. So he's learning the nature.
Yeah.
And how.
Okay, so we're still on 2, right? We're on 2
right now. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm just saying he's learning how they really are. Like
that's interesting.
The actual nature. I think that. In the future, as we do these cosmologies or not apocalyptic literature, they give you the keys right at the beginning, and you have to. And I haven't gone through, unfortunately, because they say, "Here's what I want to know: these 3 things." So what you do is you go through and you say, "Okay, what is this related to? What is this?"
I am revealing right now that I did not catch that. Like you.
No, but I'm not. I haven't either.
I would like to go through this and mark like, okay, here's the answer to the first question.
Because that's what the whole point of the thing is. But then I think a lot of times we get lost and say, what the heck is this talking about? And we're like, what is this? What is the harmony, or what is the logos, or whatever? We're like stuck in all this other stuff, and then we're like, oh wait, but the whole point of this, how does, if we look back and read, anyway, we'll have to do that some other time. But so he's learning nature. He's learning the nature of things, how they really are.
Nature, and then man's nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway.
All right. So you actually started reading this already.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I started
16.
reading.
16 is where's the mention of...
Yeah, how did I get to 16? It was supposed to be 15.
It's okay.
Anyway.
Hermes says, okay, teach on mind. So I'm really entertained by this. This is great. And so the shepherd says, this is the mystery kept hid until this day. And he goes...
yeah, this is interesting because I'm like, what?
And you actually started reading this. Nature embraced by man brought forth a wonder. Oh, so wonderful. For as he had the nature of the concord of the seven, which is a really cool way to... A man is ruled by fate, right? Who, as I said to thee, were made of fire and spirit. Nature delayed not, but immediately brought forth 7 men, in correspondence with the natures, the 7 male, female, and moving in the air.
Okay, so this is interesting. This is what I thought. Okay, it's not totally clear, but then I looked at the commentary because I'm like, what is this talking about? It almost seemed to me like angels or something.
Yeah, but there are these moving in the air.
But there are these male, female, like... Okay, nature's bringing forth 7 men. These 7 different... What is your interpretation of this?
I think that this is referent... My interpretation... I haven't spent a long time deciding if I'm right or wrong on this.
That's fine.
But
just throw it out there, man.
My interpretation is this is referencing these 7. So the planets like Jupiter and Mars and Venus and Mercury... are actually, like, in some cultures are gods, right?
Oh, the 7 gods.
This is like this is kind of like the beginning of a pantheon of gods.
Oh,
that's what I was interpreting this as.
Huh.
So you have the sun god, the ruler god.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you have all the other. Of course, the ruler god's actually Jupiter in one way, in some interpretations as well. So I'm not sure who's who, but I was interpreting this as 7 gods, and I'm not necessarily thinking that this is like putting a lot of emphasis on these gods being like the kind of gods
spend a lot of time on.
Yeah, I know. I don't think the word God might not be the right.
It could
term.
Be more like angel or something, or spirit or something.
Entities, higher beings.
But they have the thing is that they're
authorities.
The 7 men correspond to the natures of the 7 planets. Yeah. The ruling planets.
And I think when there's reference to males,
or whatever that means,
the reference of male female, I think I'm thinking that's just human.
Well, I know, but the interesting thing is that,
or it's not just human. It's a life, a creature, because even the lower, the reasonless entities are referred to as male female as well.
Well, I know, but later they're parted.
Correct. Good point.
Yeah. Which is interesting because whenever it talks about God, it talks about male female nature, like combined male female nature. For whatever reason, it's a combined dual nature.
Yep.
That, and we talked about last time, it's not necessarily, well, maybe it's more masculine feminine than it is about sex. Yeah. The male female, like, oh, that's a guy, this is a girl. It's more, it's something deeper than what we normally think of when we think of gender, because
correct, that's the key.
Because when we think of gender, we're like, okay, we have our idea.
And I agree. Is. Our modern concept of what gender is not the same, I believe, as it might have been in different times, and especially with Hermetic philosophy, there's a different understanding of what gender actually refers to. Mm-hmm. And gender is one of the 7 Hermetic principles, right?
Yeah, or
It's the seventh one actually.
Is it
gender?
That in the Kabbalion.
Kabbalion, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which is just like without spending time on it, it's just like a particular person or person's interpretation and trying to take the Hermetic philosophy and break it down to seven separate principles. But yeah, one of them is gender.
Yeah.
So.
But it's a deeper gender than what we think of.
Yeah, and normally. We actually go further on gender here soon.
Yeah. Well, let's keep going because there's this part where this guy's like, oh, the guy that Hermes or whoever this is like, I'm filled with great desire and long to hear. Don't run off,
like,
shepherd of men. And then yet. what does shepherd of men say to him?
Keep silence, for not as yet have I enrolled for the first discourse.
So he hasn't even told him the first thing, I guess.
Or he's not done with his first
discourse.
He's like,
but I don't know why the shepherd told him that,
Yeah.
He seemed like he was kind of giving him lip service, like that.
Yeah, totally.
He's like, I am filled with great desire. I don't know, maybe.
And then he says, "Lo, I am still."
Yeah.
17.
After the shepherd rips into him, he's like, "Shut up! Listen, I haven't even told you the start." And he's like, "Okay."
I'm listening.
I'm listening.
Okay, so 17. I got Mother Earth.
Oh, Earth was as woman. Yeah.
Yep.
It says that.
Yep.
Her water filled with longing, ripeness. She took the form of fire. Okay.
Spirit from Aether.
Nature thus brought forth. Okay, this is interesting. Nature thus brought forth.
This is the clay part that we
frames to suit the form of man.
Yeah. So nature's job is to produce.
Suits,
and like
suits of skins.
Suits into our bodies.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, so nature produces, and man from life and light changed into soul and mind, from life to soul, from light to mind, and thus continued all the senses, worlds, parts, until the period of their end and new beginnings. Okay, I don't know what that.
And the new beginnings is just a cycle of life and death.
Oh,
it just continues.
Circle of life.
Yeah, totally. It's like the circle of life. It just continues. We're born, we die. Mother Nature continues to create light, allow life to be created on the earth.
Okay.
Continues to nurture, but the thing is
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's. I don't know if there's anything so basic.
Yeah,
but the spirit. Now this is interesting. Where animals, the period being ended, the bond and bound them all was loosened by God's will, for all man's animals being male female at the same time with man were loosed apart.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is this interesting thing. All animals were male female, like connected, I guess.
Yeah.
Or one being.
I do have an interpretation of this.
Okay. This is gonna be interesting.
Keep on going.
Were loosed apart. Some became partly male, some in like fashion, partly female. And straightway God spake by his holy word. Increase ye, and increasing, multiply and replenish the earth, basically. Yep. Multiply and multitude, ye creatures and creations. And man that hath mind in him, let him learn to know that he himself is deathless, and that the cause of death is love, though love is all. This is interesting. Yeah. Okay, but there's a lot there.
There is.
So it seems like the nature of animals, or of a complete being, is male female, and then they break it up, and
so
I
don't know if I'm trying to make this fit in my mind or not, but I was thinking that the template for animals and man is that we can be a man or we can be man. We're male female. The template for the human being
is male or female.
Allows that boundary.
Yeah.
And same thing with all the animals.
Okay.
And so at birth, or I didn't say at birth, but when basically at some point they are loosed apart. Some became partly male.
Yeah, because you're not always. I don't think anybody's all male.
So I researched this a little
because
bit.
Actually, were all girls at start, right?
Exactly. And that's what I'm thinking. So some
Oh.
became partly male. But let's look at your text and tell me if yours has the same thing. Some, in like fashion,
Partly, yeah.
it says
female.
but the partly is in brackets.
Yeah. No, he adds that
He adds partly
to make it.
I'm wondering if some were just if it's gonna fit in with the XY chromosome thing, then it should be saying became partly male while some were just pure female.
That makes sense if you look at it in a genetic.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Which
that makes a lot of sense.
I'm not sure when the XY chromosome
cool.
thing became like a thing that people knew about.
I don't. No, not then.
So,
yeah, I don't think it was then.
So I think that maybe he.
Well,
added
actually,
partly,
this is 1912. This was written in 1912 or 1916 or whatever. Anyway,
1906.
Yeah,
almost.
So that could have been known. But Brandon, you need to treat yourself. Anyway,
Fentimans. This Fentimans is a contemporary of Mead, 1905.
Oh my gosh.
I bet Mead had a Fentimans.
Is that what he was drinking when he wrote this? So anyway, okay.
Can I try?
That's a super interesting thing, Brandon.
Should I do the cock and bull?
Yeah.
Or should I do the vanilla?
Treat yourself. Treat yourself.
I'm gonna treat myself.
Serious. Treat yourself.
Have we ever opened up this many drinks in one episode?
Well, no.
Here we go.
Anyway, so whenever I read that,
I'm glad you have these, by the way.
they're so good. I was thinking along the lines of because I was thinking of I'm gonna go to the Bible real quick.
Okay.
Dust this thing off.
Dust off your Bible.
But I was thinking of the creation of man, and Tanya. If you hear that, that's our garage door opening. But what happened was kind of like this. I was thinking more along the lines of this. Okay. That God creates all the animals, male and female.
Yeah.
And then Adam, he brings them every living creature to Adam, and he gives them a name, and Adam gives names to all cattle and to the fowl of the air and the beasts of the field. It's almost like the words are that you're talking. Remember the birds of the air, the fish of the sea, but for Adam there was not found an helpmeet for him. Okay. And the Lord God caused deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which God had taken from man, he made woman and brought unto her unto the man, and said that this is bone of thy bones, flesh of thy flesh. Anyway, I thought it was kind of interesting that in the way I was looking at it, you had this complete being.
Okay.
And they call him Adam, or do they call him man? No, they call him Adam.
I think it's the same. I think it's the same word, anyways.
Well, anyway, I'm just saying. And then all of a sudden, God takes something out of him and creates.
I see what you're saying.
The other being, and one's becomes the male, one's the female. He takes something out of him. I don't know.
So we're loosed apart.
Yeah.
At the same time with man, loosed apart.
Yeah. So that. I don't know if that is anything. I like yours though. That was really cool.
Yeah.
But I was like, but this gives it a different way of looking at if you read it the way I was reading it, at the Adam and Eve story, because he's loosing apart. Yeah. It's like why the heck? Why would he create something out of a rib? Why wouldn't he just get more clay? Yeah.
And just put a different
and create the woman. Well, because maybe they were this. They say in this androgynous creature or something, this dual nature. Let's call it a dual nature, because it gets confusing whenever they were this hermaphrodite or whatever.
Sure.
But this dual natured creature, and then God said, kind of went. Cut them instead of a rib, cut them in half, or divided the natures, and then I don't know.
You got some good theorizing to do there.
So there you go. There's some ideas.
The last important part there is the multiplying or planet. So basically, all creatures are hey, increase ye, multiply, replenish. But for man, you have one more thing to do. You
Ooh,
also
what's
need
that?
to learn
Oh
to
yeah.
know that you're deathless, and that, and so, and I'm not sure. I don't.
This is
My
interesting.
interpretation. I don't have an interpretation of, and the cause of death is love, though love is all.
Oh, I do.
I do have an interpretation a little bit. I don't know if I have it ready to show though. But go ahead.
Well, oh wait, do I? Dang it. Maybe it was in the because
So what do you think of the cause of death is love is all about?
well, it depends on what you love. I
Oh,
think.
totally. Yeah, exactly.
I think that's where
I agree with you.
it's like it's another kind of poetic thing where it's like you need to find out that you're deathless and that love is all, but love is death. You know, kind of like this the way it says that. Okay, maybe this will make sense. Hopefully, okay. The motive power. Okay, this is in his notes.
Oh, okay.
The motive power of all is love. If this love manifests itself as desire for things of matter, the lover stays in darkness, wandering, right?
Okay.
If it becomes the will to know light, the lover becomes the knower of himself and so eventually at one with good. There you go. So it's it's again the dual nature.
Yeah.
It's like
This whole thing
it's
is like rotating over the same principles over and over. Yeah.
and that they're and if you're not paying attention or not open or whatever, you're just like you think they're talking about something totally different and they're not. This is interesting.
About your concept earlier of even poetry and parables.
Yeah.
So my
This is interesting because then you're like, oh, that's why it's cool to talk about it because whenever you're just thinking about it yourself, you don't always hit on these things.
my 2 cents to add to that is I don't have it ready for you, but I think I know it the verse well enough to quote it. Is when I read this, I thought about a verse in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene.
Okay. That's not in my Bible.
Yeah, well, it's in that one that I saw earlier, probably.
Yeah.
But
hey, is it in the King James? If it's not, I don't want to hear
it's
it.
It's not canonized. So there's this verse in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene where Mary's actually speaking, and she says, "And this is why you get sick and die, because you love that which hates you." That's the verse. But when I read
when you read it in this context, it's a lot deeper than just.
When I read this, I thought about the Mary Magdalene.
Like, verse. Doesn't make sense. People who are good still get sick and die.
Yeah.
But exactly. If you read it in this context, that makes way more sense.
Yeah, and Karen King, who translates the Mary Magdalene text, might. We don't know the liberties that translators take, right? That translators take upon the text and like put their own interpretation into it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, totally.
No, that's cool. So sometimes, you read something else, then it reminds you of something, and you're like, wait, that actually makes more sense. Whenever I
and so you're right. So if I were to have read this Hermetic text before I read the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, which was several years ago, then I thought I probably would have read that verse and had a better understanding of what I think it should have meant.
Yeah.
Or what the original intent was. You know, if I believed that they all are trying to tell the same story in one way or another.
Brandon, how long have we been going?
Want me to check?
Yeah, because I think we might want to
break it off.
Yeah, how can you tell?
Excuse us while we look at this real quick. 58 minutes.
Oh, okay. Because we still got a little ways to go.
We're technically only halfway through it. We shouldn't have spent so long in the first episode. The bonus you're getting now is we're meta thinking on this episode and whether we should stop it or not. What do you think?
Is that a bonus? I'm just saying. Okay, so right now
we can always cut this part off.
Oh yeah.
This talking between us right now.
Or else you can just pause it right now.
Oh, should I try and pause it?
No.
Can you
do that?
Yeah, but I'm not sure how it works.
This is so stupid. Let's just keep going. Screw it. Okay. Anyway, yeah, because we can always cut it in half too.
Yeah, that requires some technical skill on splitting videos and stuff.
Okay, so
Let's keep on going.
we're gonna end this one.
Okay, sweet. So that was where we stop at on this.
We stopped in
18. Yeah.
18. We got to 18.
Yeah, because we mentioned. Oh wait, no, we didn't. Yeah, partly female. Yeah, we did.
Oh yeah,
18.
Yeah. Wait, let's see. When he. Gosh dang it! I'm trying to think of Okay, so anyway,
18.
18.
Okay.
So we got 10 verses in that time.
Oh man, we got one verse more.
Yeah. Well,
And
we
here
should be able to
like,
finish it
here
up.
we are trying to like make this shorter.
Well,
Okay.
I know that's why we just. Okay, so anyway, I think there's a lot to think about, and hopefully we've stirred up some thoughts in your mind. I know it stirred up some thoughts in my mind.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna put a pin in this one for now, and then we're gonna stop it, and then we're gonna come right back to it.
Yeah, just continue right up.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Thanks for watching.
Talk to you soon.
Yeah.